Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a long time coming. Me, myself, Jay Dorazio, and Ben Willey like to formally welcome you to the Bottom Line YouTube channel. You may have listened to us before on WSYC 88.7 out Shippensburg, PA. This is a project we've had in the works for a while now. Ben, it feels surreal that we're doing this here on YouTube now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but in a good way. We've been kind of working on this behind the scenes now for a while. We've been teasing it a little bit, saying it might happen, but we finally got the stuff together, and it's no longer just a plan. It's actually happening.
Yeah, no, you phrase it perfectly. It's actually a reality now. As you see, we're using StreamYard. That's going to be the platform we use just for now. I mean, we have a little bit of an introduction here before we get into our sports talk, just to kind of set the stage. But we're two college kids. And the show itself is still the same. We're two college guys just that love sports. None of us are super tech savvy. So our plan is to slowly incorporate more and more. Eventually, we're going to be going live with this. We're going to have face cam soon, more visuals on the screen. For now, we just have the graphics. So if you just want to open a new tab, kick back and relax, this is basically going to be the same radio show format, just kind of on YouTube, right, Ben?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, at least for now. We're definitely planning on adding some more stuff, but the for right now, this is pretty standard show for us, is what you're usually used to, just on a different platform now.
So for people that are watching for maybe the first time, Ben, how about just a quick 30-second summary like we did in episode 1, WSYC? Favorite teams, any sports stuff you want to add, go for it.
See, I don't know. I like we talked about this on the first episode. I don't really have like a easy story. Your story is probably much easier, as you can just flat out say I'm a Philly sports fan and I've been that way for a while. For me, I go all over the map, from the Dolphins to the Clippers to the Maple Leafs to the Yankees to Notre Dame. I mean, there's so many different teams that are involved that I'm sure we'll learn about my fandoms the more and more we go on, and obviously our viewers that have been listening probably know already, but we'll learn a little bit about my crazy sports stories as time goes on.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear some of those classics again. And one last thing before we get into this. This is a new platform, so we're trying to grow. So please like it, subscribe, share it to everybody. We're trying to grow this out, get it to as many eyes as possible. Like I said, me and Ben, we started this. We're always eating lunch together at Shippensburg, getting dinner together. We talk sports like, hey, let's do this on a broader platform. So it's surreal to be doing this. But with all that rigmarole all the way, let's talk some NFL, because it was a pretty crazy week once again. And Ben, I'm not wasting any time. I'm ready to unleash because I'm rather pissed off, just to put it simply, as I'm recording this right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I could not believe what I was watching. I'm assuming you're going to be talking about your birds here in about 10 seconds, but I could not believe what I was watching on Monday night.
Yeah, so well, I mean, I was gonna put it later in the show, but I just want to get it out of the way now. I need to
Rip the
just
Band-Aid off a little.
yeah, rip the band-aid off and just unleash and just get myself under control here because as you guys just heard, I am a big Philadelphia sports fan. And the Eagles are on a bit of a skid right now. They go into Monday Night Football on a 2-game losing streak. I was like, all right, it's the Cowboys, it's 49ers, two high quality opponents. We'll get back on track versus Seattle, get this thing right. Before the game is even played, new defensive coordinator, Jalen Hurts is ill. I'm like, oh man, okay, not really the star I was looking for. And then the game's played, and I wasn't even impressed from the jump. I mean, Seattle was just keep themselves in it over and over again. Philly had so many chances, so many times where they could just land that knockout punch, and they just failed to do so every single time. They kept Seattle with which, by the way, Drew Lock was the starting quarterback, not Geno Smith. Drew Lock was the starting quarterback, and for 95% of the game, he was just game managing, just keeping Seattle in it. And the Eagles let him in it. And this is what happens when you allow a subpar team, especially a subpar team at home on primetime football, to allow them to stay in the game for as long as they did. They got what was coming to them. I mean, what happened in that final few minutes of play by Drew Lock? I mean, it haunted my dreams, Ben. It haunted my dreams. And I'm worried now because the offense has become so stale, so predictable, and we have an aging older defense. We probably one of the more older defenses in the league. And while we have a lot of star power on defense, most of that star power comes in players of the age of 30 plus years old. And I think we're starting to see the repercussions of that personally.
Yeah, I mean, I you kind of went over a lot of things. I will say, if I'm looking at things on the bright side, I did like what I saw out of Matt Patricia. I don't
I
necessarily
did too.
blame that. I don't necessarily blame that game on him. I think that you saw a little bit more versatility in the defensive play calling, and you saw a little bit more situational play calling that was much better. For me, the problem really starts from everyone but Jalen Hurts. I know Jalen Hurts came into that game ill, and you'd probably say he was less than 50%. I mean, he did not look his usual self,
No.
and even with him less than 50%, he was still not the reason that offense wasn't moving that game. It just seemed like everyone else was letting him down, whether it was that touted, we know the star-studded offensive line for Philly or even their weapons, which have been so reliable for him for over 2 seasons now. It just seems like none of those guys showed up and kind of just let this game. I don't think they put enough effort into it, and we've seen it
And
all
that's
year
what,
long that
and that,
good teams can find ways against bad teams if you don't put enough effort into it.
And that's what Jalen Hurts said post game. Like he's questioning, like we just weren't ready to play. Like that can't happen. You can't just be not ready to play. And part of it's the play calling bit. I mean, if you watch the game, the Eagles were running the football so well, and they kind of just on every drive they'll get a few first downs running the football. Like, all right, we're gonna pass now, and they punt. If running the football is working, keep running the football. It's not complicated. It is not complicated at all. And the other thing
Yeah,
I'm really concerned about with offensive coordinator Brian Johnson is I don't know if you saw this, Ben. I watched this after the game on the Manning cast. They had Christian McCaffrey on, and
yeah,
he literally saw the set. It was 3rd down and 7, I believe, and the Eagles ran a quarterback draw before the play. McCaffrey saw it. Everybody was lined up. He's like, "Oh, quarterback draw is coming," and that's what happened to this offense. It's just so predictable. People know what's coming. It's the same few plays over and over again. It's either a quarterback run with Jalen Hurts. They're going to do an inside zone run, or they do these little tiny screen passes. They're wide receivers. It looks like a college offense right now, a collegiate offense in terms of the play calling, and it's not good. If you watch the Eagles like the first 5 weeks of the year and watch them now, it's like a completely different team. I mean, they're the past 3 weeks they've looked like a 500 level football team, a 500 level football team. That's probably perhaps even being a little bit generous. I'm trying to stay positive with this because I mean, just a few weeks back, the 49ers they were on a 3-game skid, and that seems like that was like a whole decade ago now. So they can come back from this. I mean, you gotta imagine it can only get better from here. At least I'd hope, given the schedule ahead. We'll get to that bet. We'll get to that a little bit later. But I'm just frustrated. Just frustrated, really. I mean, especially given that Dallas lost, they could have just walked their way to the number 2 seed, and now they're gonna have to fight a little bit harder for that and win out. But it's just frustrating. And props to Drew Lock, by the way. I mean, even though I was absolutely devastated and so upset how he lost, I mean, to see a guy like that just make the most of the opportunity, that kind of was good. Good for Drew Lock, honestly. Good for him.
yeah. What a story, man. Why is it with these Seattle quarterbacks always getting the coolest stories? What a story. I always liked Drew Lock when he was in Denver, but it was great to see him play. And I honestly, I was more happy for JSN. That was a big time moment for him. And I know Seattle fans have been waiting for him to have that, X Factor type of moment. And that was a bit of a coming out moment for me for JSN.
One last thing before I go, I didn't really shed on you. Talk about it a minute. Matt Patricia, I was really impressed with the defense. You said it for a few moments there briefly. The defense did everything they were supposed to do to win this football game. I think he called a great game defensively, except for that final few drive. There are a few times there where you had DK Metcalf one-on-one coverage in obvious passing situations. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But outside that last drive, I mean, I was very impressed with the defense overall. They did more than enough to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, in the NFL, if you hold a team to 20 points, you feel pretty good about your odds. I mean, in today's league, you got to be able to at least put up 3 touchdowns to win football games, and they just didn't do that.
Right, and there are a few uncharacteristic mistakes. I mean, there was a false start on 3rd down and 1 with Jason Kelsey. He admitted that post game that he messed up. Just lots of unforced errors. It's nerve-wracking. Luckily, there's still 3 weeks of the year left, and the Eagles have a pretty easy schedule. So we'll have our predictions later on, but I'm just hoping and praying that they can turn this thing around.
Yeah, no, 100%, man.
Well, let's transition here. Let's go to last week's Thursday night game between the Raiders and the Chargers. And for the first time ever, Ben picked the Chargers to win. And Ben, I know we say it every week, Chargers going to Charger, but I'm pointing out here right now that the Chargers have never chargered this bad before.
Yeah, I mean that is the most embarrassing Charger moment I've ever seen. I mean, I could go on a whole rant about this again. I'll keep it short and to the point. The big thing for me is I don't know how it is possible that a football team 4 days before goes from scoring 0 points in a game, 0 to 3, they lose a game, and then immediately on Thursday night from Sunday score 63 points and have the highest scoring game in franchise history and a top 5 highest scoring game in NFL history. And this is a team that fired their head coach and is playing a backup quarterback, and they're playing against a division rival who has the highest paid defense in the league, the highest payroll for defense in the league. And they let up 63 points, and it wasn't even close. They could have even broken their record. They kind of let the foot off the gas in the fourth quarter.
And with all due respect, I mean, this is O'Connell quarterback. I mean, I know he's an NFL caliber QB. He's on the roster for a reason, but this isn't like a Aaron Rodgers or a Tua or a Patrick
No,
Mahomes that's doing
there
this.
is no disrespect in shedding light on Aiden O'Connell. He's a rookie quarterback who was a 5th round pick. He hasn't even looked that good in any of his starts. It's not like he's we saw this coming. I mean, Aiden O'Connell has not been great, and that's not a testament to say he's terrible, but I mean, this should have never happened.
No, it shouldn't. And finally, I think everyone's been waiting this for weeks now. Immediately after the game, Brandon Staley gets fired. I mean, he had all the chances in the world. I don't think anyone he had the makings of a Super Bowl team, and it just didn't happen for him. I mean, this has been the same story ever since his hiring, just finding the most incredible ways to lose games, it seems. And now for this Chargers team, I mean, where do you go? Where do you go from here? Like you said, Ben, you have the highest payroll on defense. I mean, the offense is not the highest payroll, but you got a lot of high-paid guys on there. Austin Eckler, he doesn't look like the same guy he once was. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, 2 aging receivers. We talked about last week on the show on WSYC. We think Bill Belichick, this might just be the perfect landing spot for him. And not to toot our own horn a little bit, we talked about that before really any of the major media outlets were. Then a few days after Brandon Staley gets fired, everyone's talking about Bill Belichick. So a little nod to us, Ben. We know our stuff. We know our stuff.
I mean, I just think people are starting to put the puzzle pieces together and realizing that that's actually like probably the best fit, not Washington or any of these other teams that people are rumoring. I just think it's such a perfect fit, and it's almost a match made in heaven.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it 100%. And also, I really like what I'm blanking on the name, the Raiders interim head coach. He's doing a heck of a job.
I mean, Antonio Pierce. He's a
Antonio
good coach.
Pierce, yes.
I just think he fits that culture so well, and we talk about it off the show about that. As an NFL coach, you kind of almost have to match the culture of your city in order to really fit in with that, because a lot of the NFL football game is mental, and these guys are all good and top of their craft, and obviously roster breakdown matters, but to be a good football team, you also gotta you gotta mentally just have the toughness and the strength, and you just gotta play your identity of football, and the Raiders are doing that right now.
No, loving what the Raiders are doing. We'll keep things rolling here. Bengals versus the Vikings. This was a game that actually had pretty big implications for both teams. Both teams fighting for wild card spots. And the legend of Jake Browning just continues to keep on rolling, Ben, as he has a 21-point fourth quarter to take down the Vikings 27-24. Where do we start on this game? I mean, this was absurd. This is absurd stuff that's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to go over there. I mean, like you said, Jake Browning. I mean, me personally, I've been pleasantly impressed with what I've seen out of Jake Browning. Not to say that I thought all hope was lost when Joe Burrow goes down, but I mean, Jake Browning coming into this stretch, I think he threw less than 5 pass attempts his whole career, and that's a scary sight when you go from a guy that like Joe Burrow, who is known for kind of masking some of their troubles that they've had on offense over the years. And Jake Brown has kind of come in and he's kind of just been I don't want to say like a kind of a knockoff Joe Burrow. He kind of has a lot of the similar traits that we've seen in Joe Burrow when he plays. And he kind of just plays a similar style of football. I'm not saying he's Joe Burrow, but he's playing a similar identity of football, and the defense is still holding their end of the bargain. And some of their playmakers have kind of stepped up recently. T. Higgins is kind of back into the mix a little bit, and Joe Mixon's had a massive step up these last couple of games. So just everything's working out at the right time, and they're finding ways, and that's what good football teams do. And we kind of expected this Bengals team to be a good football team.
I know Jamar Chase went down. I'm not sure if they ruled him out yet or how long or how severe of an injury.
They said he might miss some time. I hope not for my fantasy team, but they said he might miss some time, but they're not officially ruling him out. So we'll see. It's early.
But speaking of fantasy, by the way, Ben, you know who you have on tap this week in the semifinals?
Yeah, I'm not exactly excited about it based off what the predictions would say based on the app. I do have you in fantasy this week, and there's a little bit of money on the line. So let's just say I'm hoping for the best, especially for Jamar Chase.
Well, I mean, I don't see now I'm torn now because I love the Bengals story, but I'm trying to win it. I'm the type of guy, Ben, where if I want to win a fantasy title, I want to win it without any excuses. I want to face every team at their best and prove that my team is straight up better. So I hope that Jamar Chase is back because I don't want an asterisk next to my fantasy title. That's inevitable. I want every team at full force, full blast. And hey, I talked to the guys in the locker room, talked to Mahomes, talked to Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, they're ready to go. I had my little players meeting on Zoom with them the other day, so we're locked and loaded, baby. We're ready to go.
Okay, well, you get that all ready to go, and I'll just keep praying that everything goes out well because it's not going to go well for me.
Well, a team that did a lot of praying, it seemed, to keep their season alive was the Indianapolis Colts, and they've just responded incredibly with Gardner Minshew at quarterback as they win another game pretty convincingly against the Steelers, who just continue to slip and fall out of the playoff race. They win 30-13. And Gardner Minshew, I mean, this has been the format all year. Not gonna overwhelm you with his stats. 215 yards, 3 tutties. Just game managing his way to victories, and it's working so well. The Colts 8-6, and it just seems like they're getting better and better week by week.
Yeah, the Colts are one of those teams that you almost just don't want to play right now in the playoffs because they're just finding ways to win, and they're doing it kind of under the radar. And I think people are finally starting to talk about them a little bit, but even to what I think they should be getting talked about because they've been on this massive win streak, and they're arguably one of the hottest teams in football right now, and not many people I feel like are talking about it on a national level. And it's a good football team.
No, not a lot of people aren't talking about them at all, and they are a great football team, and it just kind of seems like it's a next man up mentality. I mean, Richardson, he goes down. Gardner Minshew fills in his place. Jonathan Taylor goes down. Zach Moss has got you. In this case, Trey Sermon had to go into this game for a little bit as well. He took most of the RB1 duties because Zach Moss went down. They're just uniting as a team together. And this is under a first-year head coach who, by the way, he was brilliant. We're missing him in Philadelphia, but what he's doing for the Indianapolis Colts right now is unbelievable. In my opinion, he should be up there for Coach of the Year easily.
Oh, he is easily top 3. I know we got to throw in the Browns coach, Stefanski, I think his name is. He's got to be up there as well. I mean, those two guys have made kind of nothing out of something, or something out of nothing. Oh, sorry, I got that backwards. They just kind of – it seems like everything's gone against them this year, and they're making it work. So, I mean, just props to both coaches, especially Steichen, who's a first-year, first-time head coach, and just – I mean, very, very much major props. If you're a Colts fan, I think you're happy about where this team's headed.
No, I mean, you got to be. And Ben, I'm guessing you were happy to see another Steelers L. I think I'd be an understatement.
It could not make me more happy. I was at a dinner with my grandparents, and I was kind of watching it on the side, and I just kept smiling the whole time because
what was on the menu?
This team is just so bad, and finally they just keep losing.
What was on the menu this week with the grandparents?
Well, we were just at a nice family dinner at one of my favorites at Duke's. So,
Duke's on the river.
Yeah, Duke's not on the river. This is more on the this is more back home style. I do know the one on the river. That's more your way.
Yeah, that's my hometown location. Duke's is. I mean, that's more of a local place. I don't know if anyone would be familiar with that. Man, that's some good eats though. Good eats.
Yeah, no, I had a nice pretzel sandwich and some fries, and I just catching up with the grandparents with us being at school, and then just slowly watching my least favorite team crumble, just second by second.
Are you really, are the Steelers your least favorite team more than like the Bills and other stuff?
No,
That's
no, no. It's 1,000% the Bills. I just like to say that.
okay. I got you, fam. Well, we'll keep going here. Lions versus Denver. I thought this was going to be the game of the week for me personally, or maybe actually the second best game of the week. We'll get to what I thought the best game of the week will be here in a little bit. But Lions Broncos, I was pretty hyped for this matchup, and I was riding the Broncos hype train, and man, they got steamrolled. This was a statement victory by the Lions,
I called it
150%
coming, man.
because the Lions out, you did call it, Ben. I'll give you your props. You earned it on this one because the Lions for a few weeks they've been kind of just stumbling their way towards the end of the year, and they kind of were distancing themselves from that team they were at the beginning of the year. And this was, I mean, we talked about with Dan Campbell. He might have the best bounce back ability in the league after a big L. It seems like he always rounds the troops together and get things back on track. I mean, this was dominance dominance against the Broncos, who've been playing some of the best football in the NFL as of late. I mean, Jared Goff, Jameer Gibbs, St. Brown, Sam Laporte, whatever you want to say, all the star power came out in this one, and the Lions just remind everybody that they are true threats in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean this was just such a dominant win. I mean, vintage Lions football, just all three phases of the game, just very technically sound football. Not many mistakes as we've seen the past couple weeks, especially from Jared Goff. I mean, this was Jared Goff's best game, as a Lion in a long time, and it showed on the field that this team is they're still a team to be messing with if you catch them on their worst day. Like on a good day for the Lions and a bad day for you, you will get steamrolled.
No, 100%. I mean, the defense. I mean, they held the Broncos at 0 first half points, only 17 points in the second half, and that was with most of the defense pretty much subbed out in the final minutes. It was garbage time. I mean, the Lions are weird, like you said, Ben. I mean, they have lots of ups and downs, but when the Lions are playing at their best, they can beat any team in the league, and they can do it convincingly.
Oh yeah, dude, they can beat anyone, and like literally any given Sunday, this Lions team, you have no idea what you're gonna get.
It's a fun dynamic, and I think everyone in a little bit of their hearts are rooting for the Lions because I mean, how can you not root for the Lions with just with the recent history of that franchise? I think everybody's kind of pulling for them outside of their own personal team, of course.
Yeah, oh no, 100%. It's one of those teams that I feel like no one would hate if they just found a way to win a couple of playoff games, and if everyone else's team gets out of the race, I think everyone will be quietly okay with the Lions doing well.
Well, Ben, I have a feeling you're gonna have a bone to grip with this next game, because it's a team that you've been high on the whole year, and they've had a few poor showings, but then they proved you that they might be something. I don't know if there's anything coming back from this performance. I'm talking about your Atlanta Falcons, the team you predicted to win the NFC South, as they went up against their division rival, the 1-11 going into this game, the 1-11 Carolina Panthers, and not only did the actually 1-12, excuse me, but not only did the Falcons lose, they lost 9-7, 9-7
Yeah.
to the Carolina Panthers. Ben, the floor is yours, my friend. What happened here?
I mean, there's so much to talk about. I mean, you gotta usually when you score 7 points, you start with the quarterback, and I feel like this has been kind of the thing every week where Desmond Ritter continues to play bad, and we kind of are like, well, they're still winning football games, so it doesn't really matter if he's playing bad. In this game, it mattered, and by all means, did Bryce Young play great? Not at all, but Desmond Ritter,
167 passing yards. That's it.
yeah,
That's all Bryce
somehow
Young had.
Desmond Ritter played worse, and he had a 15.5 QBR. I mean, that is unbelievable. And somehow in this game, Tyler Algier gets double the amount of carries as Bijan Robinson. And I'm not saying Bijan did well with his carries because he didn't, but you're giving Tyler Algier 14 carries and you're giving Bijan 7.
And
Doesn't
didn't
really
Cordell
add up to
Patterson
me.
didn't Cordell Patterson even get some looks as well?
Yeah, I mean, the official stat book, I didn't watch this game fully, but the official stats book say he got 5 carries for -2 yards. So that's not much better. Bijan had a fumble. Desmond Ritter had a fumble. I mean, just mistakes all over the board, and the defense did their job. I mean, could you have shut out the Panthers, sure, but if you hold an NFL team to 9 points,
0
you like your
touchdowns.
odds. Yeah, they didn't score a touchdown. They had 3 field goals, and you feel good about your odds. Like you would almost have to mess up in order to lose this game, and they messed up real bad. I mean,
Jonnu
just
Smith was your
everything
leading
went
receiver.
wrong. Yeah,
Jonnu
Jonnu Smith was your leading receiver. I mean, just probably the worst Falcons performance we've seen this year. And this was a big game for them. This was supposed to be kind of a layup for them heading into this tight NFC South race down the stretch of the season, especially when you have the Colts coming up this next week and the Bears after that, who have both been pretty hot, all things considered, and then a division matchup last week of the season. They needed this one, and they didn't get it done.
I'm sorry, Ben, but the Falcons are the third best team in this division. The Buccaneers and Saints seem on the come up right now. I'm not saying they're elite teams, but I think they're at least on the right track. It seems like the Falcons, it's just been the same story all year long. The inconsistencies. Fire Arthur Smith, get a new quarterback, restart next year. That's at least what I think. I know you've been kind of a fan of Arthur Smith. You kind of blame it solely on the QB play. I think Arthur Smith's just as big of a problem because when Bijan Robinson's getting 7 carries, when Drake London is getting outworked by Jonnu Smith, when Kyle Pitts is getting outworked by Jonnu Smith, that's coaching, that's personnel, and that's just inexcusable in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a double-sided coin right now. I think part of it's on Arthur Smith because, like you said, you can probably scheme better. But sometimes you can draw up a nice play, and if Desmond Ridder doesn't read a coverage and doesn't make the correct throw,
that's fair.
Not much not much that Arthur Smith can do if he's calling good plays and his players just aren't executing. And that's we got to put a little bit of blame on everyone.
Are you worried about Bryce Young at all? Because, he's the number 1 overall pick, and you're looking at the players drafted after him, notably C.J. Stroud. I know it's his rookie year, and I'm not one to overreact to rookie years. You got to let a quarterback develop. Do you think there's some bigger concerns here? I'm personally not worried yet. I think you got to at least give a rookie quarterback at least 2 years to fairly judge him, especially a high drafted prospect. I'm not worried about Bryce Young, but I'm kind of just like batting like an eyebrow, like how The Rock used to do, raise a single eyebrow. That's kind of where I'm at with Bryce Young.
Yeah, I think if we're learning anything, that you have to play a certain style of football for him to work, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We've seen it with other quarterbacks. You kind of have to play a certain way for their scheme to work. We'd even seen it with Jalen Hurts. I'm about to say, he runs a very distinctive scheme to really work his talents into play, and we're learning that he can't really just kind of make anything happen with nothing, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. Is that if anything, Bryce Young has been thrown into like the worst situation possible. That O-line is terrible. I can't even tell you who he's throwing the ball to besides Adam Thielen. The run game is nowhere to be found. You signed Miles Sanders to this big contract, and he's been basically nowhere to be found. Just a lot of stuff wrong there. They fire their head coach. There's a lot wrong there, and it's his rookie year. Just a lot going wrong there. I'm not ready to give up yet, but like you said, I do kind of bat an eyebrow at some of these things. It just at times his arm doesn't look NFL ready. He also just is really small, and it just doesn't. I don't know if he has the physicality. And there's a lot of smaller quarterbacks that can get away with it, but you have to make up for it in other areas, and he hasn't really done that yet.
That's what I'm saying. You look at a guy like Kyler Murray. He has great scrambling ability, and Bryce Young can scramble. That's not really his game. He's kind of, I wouldn't say he's a pocket passer either, but he's not a pure mobile quarterback either. He's kind of somewhere in between.
He's mobile, but not in the same way. Like he's much better at moving in the pocket and shifting around and making plays in the pocket with his legs, but he's not going to run for 60 yards and a touchdown. Like he's not going to, be your leading rusher.
Right. It's just been kind of a disastrous season for the Panthers and the Falcons, man. Luckily for them, they're in the worst division of football, so they're still very much so in the hunt. But I think they have fallen to a clear third place, and I think even by the eye test, they're the third best team in that division. We'll see what we think at the end of the show in terms of our prediction. But Ben, last week we were talking about we were both confident that our teams were going to bounce back. My team failed horrendously. I'm assuming your team did everything you could ever hope for against the Jets. I mean, I wish I could feel how you felt how you feel right now as the Dolphins. I mean, they've again talk about bounce back ability. Mike McDaniel's after every single loss, the Dolphins just completely instantly turn the script and have a superstar level performance. That's what they did against the Jets without their best offensive player outside of Tua, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be 100% honest. This game had me nervous leading up to it. I mean, I was nervous and I was like, this team last year kind of went down a similar path where they kind of collapsed down the stretch and everything you worked for the first, 13 games of the season kind of went down the drain. But as soon as this game kicked off and, instantly I saw immediate it just looked like a sense of urgency out of this team that I was waiting to see all last week. And immediately they pounced on Zach Wilson and made him uncomfortable. And the offense, who I was most worried about considering coming into the game when I saw the inactive sheet, and Tyreek Hill looked like he was probably ready to go, but I think they played the smart route and the safe route and kind of let him rest a little. I know I that's probably not what they'll tell you, but that's kind of how I think everyone kind of viewed it, is that he probably could have gone if he needed to, but they didn't really want to risk anything, especially when you're playing the Jets. You kind of hope you can get the job done without him. And they're missing still some of their offensive linemen and just a lot of inactives all over the board. And this team answered the call phenomenally. I mean, what an excellent game from Tua. That was Jalen Waddle's best game of the season. Raheem Mostert had another 2 touchdowns to break the franchise record for rushing touchdowns. Bradley Chubb was unbelievable in this game, and he's been unbelievable all season. Definitely worked that big contract we paid him last offseason. Secondary responded really well. Jalen Ramsey continues to impress. I mean, just everything all across. The special teams finally had a good game, a couple decent kickoff and punt returns, and a really smart, they sniffed out a fake punt from the Jets, which everyone kind of thought might come in these type of games, but still good coaching to be prepared for everything. I mean, I could not be more on a complete other side of the coin as I was last week, as I am this week heading into Dallas.
And this was a good game to have because now you at least, I mean, obviously you'd like to win out, but by winning this game, you can at least be okay with a loss in this mini gauntlet you have coming up. This is one, you're right, you absolutely had to have. You could not go into this little gauntlet you have going on at the end of the season with back-to-back loss against the Titans and the Jets. Or else you'd perhaps fall into a spot that the Eagles find themselves in now, who's on just a terrible skid as the playoffs approach. You get back on track, that everyone pretty much forgets about that Titans loss immediately. And now you're in a spot where you control your own destiny because that Ravens-Dolphins game at the end of the year, man, that's going to be a juggernaut, perhaps the most important game of the regular season, I'm willing to argue, if it turns out that game is for first place in the AFC.
Oh yeah, if the Dolphins win this week, they clinch playoffs. And then the week after that, they play the Ravens. If they win that game, they clinch the division. And then the week after that, if they beat the Bills, they clinch the first seed. So there is playoff clinching scenarios all over the board. So there's, as you said, they quite literally control their own destiny. If every team wins, and so do the Dolphins, they will have the number 1 seed in the AFC. So it's the ball's in their courts. It's a matter of how they respond. And this week is a huge first test for them, I think, to really see what they're made of down this late stretch.
And what's really good about this one as well is you keep that 2-game buffer between the Bills. Obviously, you'd like to beat the Bills, but if so happens the Bills happen to beat you again, they still need the Dolphins to lose another game to win the division. So there was a lot of big implications by getting this dub when they did. And I mean, yeah, credits to the Dolphins. I don't really have much more to add. I mean, this was just one team was way better than the other team. I mean, the Jets didn't even get a single point. So there's not really much more that I can add that you already broke down. Any good Hard Knocks stories, clips from this past week that you saw? Anything noteworthy?
I didn't watch the full episode yet. I didn't get around to it last night. I kind of went to bed. I do know that I saw a clip this morning of one thing I was really hoping to see was McDaniel kind of rally the troops a little bit after last week. I know we know McDaniel as the quirky guy, the funny jokes, lighthearted, but when push comes to shove, he has a side to him that if they're not going to perform, he will get a little mean. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It kind of shows his passion and that he still just wants this team to succeed. And you can have fun while playing, and arguably, I think teams perform better when they do have fun. But you got to win football games, and especially in that game, they should have had that game in the wraps, and he kind of just laid into the team a little bit, and said that he almost didn't want to have to do it, but they had to talk about it, and it's what good football teams do. So I was happy to see that. But other than that, I can't exactly give you a full rundown yet, but I'll let you know.
Well, let's change gears then. Let's talk about your division rival, those Buffalo Bills, who, my golly, this was they were kind of just remind everybody that they are not done yet. There is still a lot of gas left in the tank as they destroyed Dallas, who was arguably the hottest team in the league going into this game, 31-10. To start off my weekend great as an Eagles fan. The Eagles just kind of blew that later on, but we're not going to talk about that. We already talked about it. Let's talk about the Bills because this was just pure Bills football. Defense, run the football. Josh Allen, he said it post game. He felt like the guy that did nothing in the group project and got an A+, and that's a perfect allusion to what happened because James Cook, 25 carries, 180 rushing yards, and a score. The Dallas defense got exposed. Dak Prescott, thank goodness, he's not going to win the MVP more than likely just because of this one performance. Life is good when Dallas loses, everybody wins. But this was a great statement by the Bills, who still, I don't think, do they have a wild card spot yet? Or I think they're still out of the playoffs, right?
I don't exactly know off the top of my head. I mean, the thing is like I think everyone in the league is just hoping they skid and somehow they're not in it yet. No, so Houston has the tiebreaker over them, and then so does Indianapolis right now. So I mean, both those teams have a tiebreaker right now. So if they keep somehow winning, then everyone's good to go. I mean, there's still a lot of other teams that could technically, theoretically make a run, but I think everyone's kind of waiting to see with Indy, Houston, and Buffalo. I think everyone's kind of expecting the Steelers to fall off a little bit, and then I feel like Denver's probably the biggest question mark of the bunch. But yeah, I mean, they're still not officially in yet, but man, what a coming out performance for the Bills, who have been up and down all year.
By far the best win of the season, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I thought this was going to come down to a wire. I thought this was going to be both teams in the 30s in terms of a final score. It was far from that. I mean, this is just straight proof of the home field advantage you get when Buffalo is at home. That's a very tough place to play football games at.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that is like I'm kind of alluding to is like they're kind of one of those teams right now that you just don't want to play. And we talked about it with the Colts. It's just this AFC is getting so competitive where, I mean, you just do not want to play the Bills. It's just it's one of those trap games that man, if you catch the Bills on their best day, like, oh no, like it could be, we could have worked all our way to get to a 2 or 3 seed and it goes out the window. I mean, that's kind of where they're at.
No, I agree 100% completely. And the Bills, I mean, they're 6-2 at home, and then 2-4 on the road. And they're kind of a different team at home and away. And you can make the same story for Dallas, who they're starting to have some issues away from Dallas as well. 3-4 on the road. What do you think about that, Ben? How Dallas has kind of been two different teams, just dependent on where they're playing at. I think it's an interesting dynamic. I'm not sure if it's just coincidental. There's actually some truth to the differences in performance.
Oh, it definitely matters. I mean, especially in a team like Buffalo, the environment that they're used to. I mean, that environment in Buffalo puts an away team at such a disadvantage. And I think in general, teams just play better at home. I mean, even my Dolphins are much better at home than they are on the road. And, some of that might be coincidental, as you said, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like those records do matter, and it's kind of a scary sight, especially for a team like Buffalo, who probably it's going to take a lot of right for them to end up in a home spot for the playoffs. So they got to find a way to win some games on the road.
Yeah, we'll see if Buffalo even makes the playoffs. Like I said, they still need some help. I think more likely than not, they're going to find a way to nab one of those playoff spots, which one I don't know. But I just have a hard time not seeing the Buffalo Bills in the postseason this year. I think they're hitting their stride at the right time. But again, the Bills have done this before where they'll have a statement win and then just have an absolute dud the next week. I mean, a few weeks ago, we were questioning if they would even make the playoffs because just of the inconsistencies of this team. So while it was a great win, I think it's a very important thing to keep on how they perform next week, because there's been a couple times this year specifically where they've just laid an egg following a big time win.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of stuff to really what's it called to really talk about the Bills, and we wonder if they'll continue this impressive performance, because as you talked about, that it usually seems every time they do get back on the right track, they kind of just have an embarrassing loss. So for their sake, I hope that doesn't happen. For my sake, I hope it does happen.
Of course. Of course. We have one last game here on our NFL headlines, and that was between the Ravens and the Jags on Sunday Night Football. And I said it last week, I went public with it. The Ravens were my pick in the AFC. And after this game, I feel pretty darn good about it, because the Ravens, granted, Trevor Lawrence was not at 100%, but they absolutely just destroyed this Jacksonville offense. All their playmakers were really non-existent. I mean, Agnew was a leading receiver for the Jags. Etienne really didn't do all that much on the ground. Offensively speaking, the Ravens really weren't super impressive. They kind of just game managed their way to victory. Lamar Jackson, he had a vintage Lamar Jackson game. He led the team in rushing with pretty much 100 yards. The Ravens are just a complete team. They're just a definition of a complete team, a strong defense, a good offense. I'm not more sure I'm going to say an elite offense, but definitely a good to great offense. They just have all the makings of a Super Bowl contender. The question is, can they just continue to put it together week after week?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is for them. Is we see that. I feel like we see this every single year from this Ravens team, especially since Lamar's been there. Is it just they're always competitive, and then when push comes to shove, when the big lights are on them in the playoffs, they just never really bring that same level of play that we're used to seeing. And that's what it's going to be for me. Is like they've shown they can win in the regular season. We just haven't seen them win in a playoff atmosphere yet, especially when it comes to Lamar. You just got to get it done. And I think right now it's pretty much a two-headed race for them and the Dolphins for the first place in the AFC. So that's going to be a big time buy for either team, whoever gets it.
Especially this point in the year where when you're listening to the season, I mean, injuries can just light you up. I mean, you're a Dolphins fan. I mean, you guys, your depth chart has been getting a little heated up the past few weeks. So just to get a week to get everybody healthy, just to recover.
It's so massive. It means the world.
Out of all the sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, a first round bye is by far the most significant and the most important in football. 100%. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you only play one game at a time, that, get your troops ready for that one game. And especially when it comes to injuries, like that means the world. Even if a guy's not officially, out for the game, just giving them another week to just let their body rest a little bit. It's just, you see it even the casual person, when you're sick or something and you talk to them a week later, it's almost like they're a complete different person. And it's just, stuff like that. Just, it gives you an extra week to prepare too. And there's just, everything can go right there. There's just no negative from taking a week off, unless you want to argue that it, if you're hot, it gives you a reason to cool down. But that is the only possible downside.
That was a beautiful analogy you said with when you're sick and you talk to them next week, they're a completely different person. That one hit differently, man. I had a bad stuffy nose the past few weeks. And that next day where you can just actually breathe in through both nostrils and get that fresh air, man, it's a game changer, dude. That one hit me on a different level, dude. So that was well played there. That was beautifully said.
Yeah, it's also a lot different when you're dealing with a stuffy nose versus a sprained ankle or
right.
You're messed up with stuff like that. That just means so much. It gives the body time to cool off. Swelling goes down, pain goes down, just everything. You're just much more comfortable, and you get to play at your own stadium.
Yeah, man, having that home field advantage, whether it's Baltimore or Dolphins, where way it goes, both those fan bases are tough environments to play in. Both those fan bases are loud. They make it a hard place to play. So whether it's Baltimore or Miami, that's going to be a tough place to play for either team, because those are just both just elite and raucous playoff environments. I mean, we see how it is in the regular season. Imagine how it is come playoff time.
Yeah, 100%. And both fan bases are kind of hungry for another championship team.
Absolutely. So that's going to be it for our NFL segments for this week. We're going to transition to just our quick headlines or other sports talk. Let's start with baseball. Yamamoto, the rumors are starting to heat up. We're starting to see who the favorite teams are. And I'll tell you what, Ben, it might be a long shot, but Yamamoto met with my Phillies, and the Phillies have officially sent an offer. They're keeping it disclosed. Now, I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm pretty sure he's going to a big market team, whether that's the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers. It's probably going to be one of those three because they have a bit more money, but don't count out my Phillies. He said he wants to go to a big market, so he knows it's going to be one of those teams. Does he team up with Ohtani? Does he go to his own team? I did some research, and I think we even talked about this on the show where Japanese players, it's kind of a culture thing that once one guy has his team, that's like kind of his show, and you go somewhere else to have kind of respect. That is a thing over in Japan. I'm not sure if that's going to apply to Yamamoto or not. He might want to team up with Ohtani. It makes all the sense in the world. But it's interesting. I think I'm a big baseball guy, so the free agency is always a fun time of the year for me to see where the free agents go. It's exciting, and obviously you being a Yankees fan, you're already lighting up one home run in Soto. Maybe the Yankees have another move in them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you put the Yamamoto thing in here, I kind of thought we were more alluding to my Yankees. I know, like you said, that the Phillies kind of put in an offer for him, but I think that is just
I'm
such a
not getting
long
my hopes
shot.
up. Yeah, I'm not getting my hopes
Yeah,
up.
to me, the only three teams really in the business for this are the Dodgers, the Yankees, and I guess the Mets. But to me, it's really only the Dodgers or the Yankees. I mean, I really don't think there's a good chance that he goes to any other team. And even as a Yankees fan, I feel pretty comfortable saying he'll probably end up a Dodger. But I am hopeful that he ends up a Yankee. To me, it just comes down to that dilemma of, do you want to be the star pitcher on a team? He's definitely going to be kind of second fiddle to Ohtani there. Whereas if he goes to the Yankees, granted they do have Garrett Cole, I just think he's still going to be a big part of that team. It's just not
Well,
it's not the same.
especially, I mean, Garrett Cole, by the time Yamamoto's in the prime of his contract, 5-6 years in, Garrett Cole might not even be a Yankee anymore. Or
Correct. Garrett Cole's getting up there
yeah.
in age, and Yamamoto's still young, all things considered. You know, it's really up to him. I can't be mad at, if he does choose to go to the Dodgers, but man, would that be just another absolute, home run move for the Yankees? To me, would genuinely put them in that upper echelon of teams contention, just with how stacked that roster is. So
I think they already are up there, Benny, if they don't get him. I mean, adding Soto to
yeah,
what already was.
for me, the bats are too inconsistent, and oftentimes we see with the Yankees, their biggest problems in playoff runs the last decade have been when the lights are bright, they just can't pitch, and teams have a much deeper rotation or a deeper bullpen, and they just haven't had that. So having two big name starters like Garrett Cole and Yamamoto are just to me it goes a long way, and I think the bats will figure themselves out naturally.
I'll tell you what, I might get some slack for this, but I'm a Phillies fan, so the Yankees are in the American League, so it doesn't really impact me all that much. But it just kind of feels right when the Yankees are signing the big guys and have a good team in our World Series, a good contender for the World Series. Part of me, it just feels right. And again, Yankees are in the American League, so it doesn't really impact me as much because the only outcome would be a World Series matchup. But I don't know, it just kind of just seems like the world's in a good spot when the Yankees are signing big guys, spending stupid amounts of money. It just kind of makes the world go round. It seems, at least that's from an outside fan's view. But I don't know. I mean, the Yankees are just like are arguably the biggest franchise in all of sports. I mean, it's kind of just a given that they should be at the top. I don't know. Just kind of seems right.
Yeah, I mean, I've said that about a lot of sports. I feel like things are right when teams like the Yankees or the Lakers or any of the other
Right.
teams are
Yeah.
just, when the top teams are doing well, it just kind of all feels right in the world. And I don't know, it's a different kind of enjoyment, especially as a fan. But like you said, from the outsider's perspective, it's just everything seems right.
Well, I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but that was a really great transition when you mentioned the Lakers into our next headline. I thought this was interesting. We don't spend a whole lot of time on this, but I thought it could spark an interesting debate. So the Lakers won the in-season tournament, and obviously the Lakers are probably the most historic title franchise, maybe outside the Celtics, in terms of championship banners. But the Lakers decide to add to their collection of banners in the form of raising a banner for the in-season tournament championship. So that tourney banners is up there with all the other NBA championships, with all the other players that got retired, including the likes of the Kobe Bryants, the Jerry Wests, the Magic Johnsons of the world. Ben, what do you think about this? Because I really didn't think the Lakers were going to reveal a banner for this, but they did. I don't know. It just really leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I'm not a fan of this at all. I actually, quite frankly, I hate it.
Yeah, I'm very much on the same page as you. I think this is despicable. I think it just ruins the integrity of an NBA championship. And I just think it is blasphemous to compare what the Lakers do in the in-season tournament to an NBA championship. It's just silly. Like if you were to tell teams 10 years ago that you'd be getting a banner in the rafters for you winning a couple regular season games, they would laugh at you and tell you you're funny. And is the in-season tournament good for the league? Probably. But this is just, I think we're taking it to a new
The-
level, but I understand why, because they're trying to market it and they're trying to brand it. But this is just getting too extreme for me.
It's almost like there's that line in the sand that you don't cross, and I think they've officially crossed that line in the sand. I mean, with all due respect, you beat the Pacers in a best of one game at a neutral site to win this. I mean, let's just tell it how it is.
Yeah, you got to call a spade a spade. I mean, you played another a low market team that made a miraculous 1 game run in the. It's like playing a team in the play in right now. That's literally what that was. It was like playing in a play in tournament, and you won a couple 1 game series against a couple teams at a neutral site, and that was your banner in the
And
rafters next to
and
your multiple championships.
and the neutral site was right down the road in Las Vegas. I mean, very easy, essentially a home game for the Lakers, given how much of their fans are from that general region.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot to talk about. I like you said, I think we're both on the same page that this is just it's just stupid, and the anyone but the casual fan should hate this.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. It kind of pissed me off, Ben, if I'm being honest. I just really like if the 76ers did this, dude, could you imagine like with the Philly fans? They'd probably try to burn the damn thing down.
Oh, dude, if this happened to the Clippers, you know, the thing about the
No,
Clippers
that would
is
be the
like,
most Clippers thing ever to do,
oh my
though.
gosh,
That'd
dude.
that'd be the most. Imagine the Clippers' first ever banner in franchise history is for an in-season tournament. That'd be the most Clippers-esque thing in Clippers. You cannot tell me otherwise.
No, it literally would be. I would feel so ashamed that their first big banner would be them winning the in-season tournament in 2023. Just a
And
joke. I really hope.
aren't they
Go
still
ahead.
sharing a venue with the Lakers? Right, the Clippers. They're
Yes,
still.
for now. The new
So
arena will be
imagine you
ready in
have
a couple years. There's just all these banners with Lakers legends and Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron and all these guys, and then there's the LA Clippers winning the in-season tournament.
yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Just imagine this: so you have all the Lakers championship victories, all the retired jerseys, and on the other side you have the one solo banner for the Clippers.
Yeah, no, the NBA needs to find some solution to this. I like I said, I think it's hard to argue that the in-season tournament's not it's good for the league, but we're comparing this on a whole new level. Like there's got to be a different way.
Yeah, I didn't mind handing out the trophy like that was okay. I had no problems there, but the
No, the
banner
trophy was
like.
fine. That's fine.
But like the banner, because now that's up there forever. I mean, that's officially like the trophy. Like, okay,
Did they
cool.
have
Hand
like
out
a
a trophy.
ceremony for it?
Yeah, they had a
Oh,
thing where they
geez.
had they
Yeah,
had
you know.
they had like the black like covering, and they did the countdown with the reveals. It slowly went up, and I mean, you even saw like the players were even the players didn't feel honored, and they got a lot of backlash. Quite frankly, they might have to take it down eventually. Like maybe just like in the off season, they don't even say anything to the public. They don't announce it. They just do it quietly and take it down. I think that's the move, and I think that's
Yeah.
what needs to be done.
At least to me, the final straw would be if they did like some sort of ring, like championship ring. That
Oh
would be
Lord,
my final straw. I hope they don't get. Maybe I shouldn't have spoken into existence, but man, would that be the ultimate? Like, oh god, I mean, we would be on a whole new level here.
do you do like a runners up banner at that point because you're the Eastern Conference in season tournament champions, the Pacers? Like it's
Well,
awful.
it's not even
I'm
conference based. It's not even Eastern or Western. You're just
no, yeah,
one
you're
side
right.
of the
Yeah.
bracket.
Yeah, you're left bracket champs.
Yeah.
left left bracket champs.
Yeah, well, embarrassing for the league, in my opinion.
I hear you, man. That sounds. I agree. I agree. I don't really have a whole lot more to add. What I do want to add, we didn't really talk about a whole lot of college football this year, but hey, next week the big time games start. We were thinking about doing a whole bowl mania thing, but I'm not gonna lie to the public. For 75% of those games, I would just be picking a name out of the hat. Just say, I'm picking them for just because I'm going with my gut. Like I don't know about these really obscure colleges. It wouldn't have felt right. I fear we stick to the big time games. So we can actually give some half decent analysis because for most of those games, you're just picking names out of a hat, at least for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I wanted to touch on this at some point is, with this new platform that we're on, it gives us the flexibility to kind of talk about these things more. And this is part of the reason why we went to this platform is I think, at least for me, I don't know about you, I love college football, not as much as the NFL, but I love it enough to where there were multiple times throughout the season where I would have loved to talk more college throughout the year, but we just didn't have the time for that. And
Well,
now
look, I
we
mean,
kind of do.
like right now, we'd be wrapping up the show at this point right now. This is what we're talking about right here. I mean, right now we'd be rapid firing through predictions.
Yeah, just a much different pacing. We don't have to worry about that now. We can do our own thing. But now it's, we can talk about college and especially down the stretch in college when playoff scenarios are on the line. I love talking about these games. So I'm glad to go through a couple of these games and at least give some analysis on them.
Yeah, we're going to do the New Year's Six bowl games. The first game, we have number 9 Missouri versus number 7 Ohio State. Common Cord transfers. He actually went to Syracuse. I mean, it's a heck of a down.
What a weird
That's
transfer.
a weird transfer indeed. You got to imagine that like the coaches said, "Hey, it's going to be a battle," but you kind of get the impression that they alluded that he probably wouldn't be the starter next year. And Syracuse, I mean, with obviously NIL, that makes a difference. I assume he's getting a nice payday to go there. I can't imagine Syracuse was the best school that offered him. I imagine there's a bit more to it. In terms of Missouri versus Ohio State, I'm rocking with Missouri. Now, granted, I am a Michigan fan, but hear me out. I feel like Missouri has so much more to play for here than Ohio State. Ohio State, there's probably no motivation really for them to win this game. They're starting quarterbacks out for Missouri. This is kind of their national title game. This is their chance to say, hey, we were legit all year long, and we're here to make a statement. Ohio State, I mean, I feel like that locker room's got to be hard to be fired up to play this game. And granted, again, Ohio State's quarterbacks out. I got Missouri win this one. I think it will be close, but I think Missouri just has more to play for, and I think that might make the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the story with a lot of these bowl games is, you have a lot of teams that are sitting guys out, and then just for some teams it means more. And for this situation, I just don't think it means a lot for Ohio State. For them being in this New Year's Six Bowl, it's kind of a disappointing season. They were expecting to be in the playoffs, and rightfully so. It just didn't happen. Missouri hasn't been in this spot in a while. They kind of have more to play for.
So both rocking with Missouri on that one. Next, we got number 11 Ole Miss versus number 10 Penn State. This is a really fun matchup, and at least for me, this was a coin flip. I can really see this one going either way. I'm going to rock with Penn State. I don't feel all that great about it, though. But again, Penn State, everyone, their roster is going to be at full health. James Franklin, I know he loses the big games, but he does have a pretty good track record in bowl games. I will give him that.
Yeah, very good track record, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, very strange indeed, because I think he's one of the most overrated coaches in all of college football, but he does win bowl games. Granted, the bowl games he's been in have not really been meaningful bowl games, but they're bowl game wins nonetheless. Ole Miss, it's going to be a great opponent. I think this is going to be a great game. I'm going to rock with Penn State. Maybe it's just a little bit of Big Ten loyalty here, but I'm just going with the track record. I mean, I think Penn State's the better team, and I think the better team's going to get the job done, and Coach Franklin will keep his bowl game resume strong.
Yeah, I took Penn State as well. For me, it just comes down to their, almost laughable consistency to win bowl games and nothing else but bowl games. Just Ole Miss doesn't really show on this stage a lot. It's been a while since they've been on the bright lights like this, and no disrespect to Ole Miss. They've had a good season, but I think Penn State gets the job done, but would not be surprised if Ole Miss wins.
Next up, number 6 Georgia versus number 5 Florida State. The first two teams out. And Ben, this will be a slaughter by the Bulldogs. I'm predicting the Georgia Bulldogs are going to win this one big, huge. They're going to prove why the committee got it right well, by got it right, I mean by leaving Florida State out. You could have made an argument that Georgia should be in. They probably think they're going to be in. And I think they might prove what they should have been in because I think Georgia's going to win big. I think this one's going to get very ugly very fast.
I 100% agree. I still consider Georgia the best team in college football. I just think this was a matchup that you had to make based off the matchups and how those bowl games go. But man, is this, like you said, is this going to get out of hand quick? Just a lot that could go wrong here, and I think it will go wrong. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this will even be a game.
I'd be shocked if it's a game. I think this one's going to get ugly very quickly. Then our bowl game before we get to the playoff contenders, which I think this is the most fascinating storyline of all the bowl games. Number 23 Liberty versus number 7 Oregon. I mean, you have a team like this every year that's not from a Power 5 that goes undefeated, only has 1 loss, and you always hear the argument, oh, they should be in, and that's why they're changing the format where a team like Liberty will be in next year. And I wanted to do it, Ben. I wanted to pick Liberty so bad. I wanted to do it, but I'm rocking with the Ducks. I'm rocking with the Ducks. I mean, Liberty, we never really know with these kind of teams because they don't really play the top tier opponents. I mean, you saw a few years ago with UCF. They did great in their bowl game. They're like, hey, we went undefeated. We should have been in there. You get a team like this every year. I'm really rooting for Liberty. I'm picking Oregon, though. They have the better athletes at every position. I'm not sure if Bo Nix will be playing. I think either way, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I just think the Ducks should be able to win this one. I think it will be close. I mean, you could make the argument, like I said earlier, Liberty has way more to play for here. I really want to pick them, but I'm rocking with the Ducks. Ben, who you got?
Man, yeah, I am simply doing this off the base of, I keep saying in these bowl games, it just feels like the team that has more to play for finds a way. And for Liberty, almost none of these guys are going to be NFL prospects. And if you are an NFL prospect for this Liberty team, you almost just want to play because this means something to that school. And if you have any sort of pride for the school you go to, you play this game. And I think you play this game with everything you got. And I'm taking the Liberty Flames. I just think these stories are just so good, and they always end up. I mean, these are one of those stories that it's too good not to be true. And we saw it years ago with UCF. We saw it with Cincinnati.
Yep.
Good things happen to good schools. Just give me the Flames. I really don't think Bo Nix will play this game. I just think this means absolutely nothing to Oregon and everything to Liberty.
Hey, I hope you're right. I really hope you're right on this one. I want Liberty to pull it off. I hope they can do it. And now we have the big boy games. We got the top 4 teams. We'll start with 3 versus 2. Texas versus Washington. What a fun! I mean, both these games are just incredible matchups. Outside of my own personal favorite team bias, I think this is going to be.
They got the matchups right. If anything, these are 2 very 50-50 matchups. I could see both games going both ways.
Yes, in terms of Washington versus Texas, hook 'em horns, baby. Hook 'em horns. I got Texas winning this one. Just what they did in the Big 12 championship game, granted, it was against Oklahoma State, but still, by all means, a great opponent, a top 20 team in the country. What they did to win like that at home, I mean, I thought, or not home, sorry, in the championship game, that was just incredible. And Texas, I mean, not to flack Washington, they do have the better athletes. They do have the better star power than Washington. I think Washington maybe plays a bit better as a team, but I think it's going to be a game where the big names are going to make the big plays. And we've been waiting for a long time for Texas to finally have a good team. They used to be a dynasty, Ben, a dynasty back in the old days, and they've been off the face of the earth for a little bit now. Texas is back, and I have Texas advancing to the college football championship.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. I like both these teams. I like the story both these teams have. I like the brand of football they play, and I like the players on the team. For me, I just think that Washington's been here before. They've been in the playoffs a couple times. They know what it takes to win. They've had a couple of bad showings in the playoffs, and a lot of that came down to matchups. For me, they finally get the job done here. They're more prepared. We saw it even at the playoff selection show. Washington didn't even own a party. They didn't have a watch party. They didn't have they expected to be there. And for me, that shows levels to this, that they're serious about this. They really think that they can make a run with this team. And I don't blame them based off who they have on their team and the coach they have. I think they get the job done, but like you said, this is such a coin flip matchup. So I really couldn't feel too comfortable about it. But based off what I did feel comfortable about, I went with the Huskies.
Hey, I like it. You make a good case. I mean, they know the stage. The stage won't be too big for them. We know that. Well, I mean, you're right. It could go either way. Wouldn't be shocked at all if Washington wins this. I'm sure you wouldn't be shocked if Texas wins it.
100%. It could go either way.
Then we have the 4-1, Alabama versus Michigan. I'm a Michigan man myself, so I think you know where I'm going to pick. I'm rocking with the Wolverines. I'd be a liar if I told you I wasn't nervous. I think Michigan kind of got the worst draw out of the 4 teams. I think Alabama's a very serious threat. I'm a little nervous because my Wolverines in these big games, specifically against SEC schools, not a good track record. But I think this year just feels different. You got Blake Corum, JJ McCarthy. You have the whole team united under what went down with Coach Harbaugh earlier in the year. So much to play for, and what might be Jim Harbaugh's last ever season coaching Michigan. I think, given everything that's on the stake, I think it's going to go Michigan's way. Hell to the victors. Go blue. Whatever needs to be said will be said. Michigan's going to find a way to get the job done, but I think it's going to be close. Wouldn't even be surprised if it comes down to a field goal game. I mean, this is going to be a doozy. This is the most excited I've been for a college football playoff in a long time. Usually in the playoff, there's like a team or two. You already know what the championship's going to be before the playoff even started. This is a year where you can really make a case for all 4 teams, which you usually can't say in past years. So it's awesome. It's an awesome season for college football.
Man, oh man, this one just makes me real nervous. I just can't. This just feels like one of those vintage moments where you shouldn't have let Alabama get in the playoff because look what you did. You poked the bear. You gave this team a glimmer of hope. And usually when you give Nick Saban an inch, he takes it a mile. And for me, this just seems too good to be true. This is just going to be, I hope I'm wrong, but it just seems like it's just one of those moments where it's the same old Alabama, and they're going to find a way to win this football game. And it wouldn't even shock me if they do it in vintage Bama fashion and just blow them out of the water. And I hope that doesn't happen. But it just seems like one of these scenarios where we've seen it before, where you let a team get in the playoff, or you give a team a chance to prove themselves, and they're going to prove themselves by a lot. And I took Alabama. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it's close, and I hope Michigan even wins. But I don't know, man. It's just I can't bet against Alabama in these scenarios.
Oh man, Ben, those are some fighting words, but I can't blame you though. That's the part that hurts. I can't blame you for thinking that way. I mean, yeah, even though Michigan's a 1 seed, you're almost crazy to go against Alabama. It seems, and that's it just goes to show. I mean, this is what makes college football so awesome. With the matchups like this, where I mean, this playoff. I mean, I just talked about a minute ago. But I mean, what do you think about these 4 teams, Ben? I think this might be the best 4 teams we've seen in a college football playoff in the playoff history. Because usually you just had the Clemsons, the Alabamas, the Georgias. You knew what the championship game was going to be even before the games got played. This year, it just feels different. Yeah, I mean, I could see all potential outcomes taking place here. I mean, I could see Washington win it all, Texas win it all, Michigan and Alabama. It's brilliant. It's great. This is so good for college football. It's going to get even better next year when it expands.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much competitiveness in college this year, and this is exactly why the playoff is expanding, because we saw it this year. There's just so many good football teams that feel robbed of a shot. I mean, the fact that Georgia doesn't get a shot to play feels like an absolute screw job. And same with Florida State, who went undefeated. Both those teams deserve the shot, and obviously all 4 of these teams are, these are great football teams. It's a good thing for college football. I can't wait for the future of college football. So this was a good year for college football.
Hey, a good year indeed, and it's going to get even better next year when you have a 12-team playoff and a team like Liberty can maybe somehow raise the college football championship. Imagine that.
Hey, that would be something I would think put a smile to pretty much everyone's face.
Well, there's only one more thing left to go now. We got our NFL predictions for Week 16. Only 3 weeks left in the regular season. It's almost gone just like that. And this week, we got some Christmas games. We got some Christmas Eve games, some Christmas Day games. What are your thoughts on the Christmas Day thing? I think it's great. I mean,
I think
it just used to be basketball that was on. Now we got football too. I love it.
Yeah, me personally, I think it's great. Like you said, when I was younger, I used to wake up on Christmas Day and always turn on the basketball games. And not that I still do that, but it's nice to have some football in there, especially as a big football fan as me. I think it's good for the league, just adding, good matchups. And we've seen over the past couple of years of some iconic Christmas moments. It's good for the league and it's good for everyone. Just everyone's family just loves some good old football on Christmas.
Well, let's go right into the picks then, I suppose. We'll start with the Thursday night game. Pulling up here. Saints at Rams. Rams, a 4-point favorite at home. I picked the Saints to win the division. I'm going to keep rolling with them. Saints, don't prove me wrong. Give me the Saints on the road. Rams, a 4-point favorite. I thought that was a bit of a generous spread personally. I guess 4 points and all that. Regardless, I got the Saints on the road with a big time win in what is a really competitive division. It's kind of turning into a 2-team race between them and the Bucks.
Yeah, for me, the Rams have just been competitive, and they've been one of those shocking teams, at least for me. I don't think I saw this coming out of the Rams this year. I thought they were kind of on the decline. The Rams have proved me wrong completely, and they've been competitive with really good teams. To me, this was a no-brainer almost. I just don't
Oh,
really like what
wow.
I've seen out of the Saints. Give me the Rams, not convincingly, but I feel really comfortable about that pick.
Wow, that kind of surprised me a little bit. You feel that good about it. I guess we'll see if you are right. Bengals at Steelers are our next one. Bengals, 2.5-point favorites on the road. Noted Steelers now going to their third string quarterback, Mason Rudolph, as Mitch Trubisky has just been not good, to put it lightly, in his 2 starts as the starter. I got the Bengals win this one. I mean, why bet against Jake Browning against a team like the Steelers? Bengals have a lot to play for. So do the Steelers, but the Steelers have had a lot to play for the past 2 weeks and still have not shown up. With Mason Rudolph at the helm, I mean, hey, it's Rudolph on Christmas Eve. Rudolph might make the delivery on Christmas Eve. I mean, what a story that would be. I mean, it writes itself. If Ken Rudolph lead the way for the Steelers on Christmas Eve, how funny would that be? All jokes aside, give me the Bengals. I'm kind of proud of that Rudolph part I just thought of on the spot though. That's pretty good. I think I get some credit for that one.
Yeah, that would be an all-time social media story if Mason Rudolph leads the Steelers to victory. For me, I don't know. This seemed too obvious for me. I think the Bengals are on the increase and the Steelers are on the decline. For me, though, it still just felt weird for me picking the Bengals, which I am picking the Bengals because this just seems like a vintage Steelers moment where they just, Mike Tomlin rallies the troops. They find a way to win an ugly football game and keep their playoff hopes alive. But I went with the safe pick and just took the Bengals because they're playing well and the Steelers are not playing well. But I don't feel comfortable about it, especially in a divisional matchup on the road.
Yeah, I like that. I don't have a lot more to add. They're both rocking with the Bengals. Next up, Bills at Chargers. Buffalo, 11.5-point favorite, the largest spread of the week. Ben, there's 3 words that need to be said.
Chargers are going to Charger. This is just an obvious one. I know I talk about the interim head coach like almost glitch where an interim head coach comes in and they kind of right the ship and always win one weird game to make you reconsider that they should be the head coach. This just doesn't seem right. The Bills are hot, red hot after last week. The Chargers are a complete train wreck. This means everything for the Bills and nothing for the Chargers. Give me the Bills by a large margin.
Yep, don't have a lot more to add. If anything, the Chargers probably want to lose this game in terms of draft implications. But
Justin
I know
Herbert would love for them to lose this game.
I'm sure he would. I think he would like a shiny new toy in terms of a new player for Christmas. So see if they can hook him up with that. I got the Bills. I don't think this game will be competitive at all. Colts at Falcons. Falcons at home, a 1-point favorite over the Colts, despite the Colts being very hot. I have the Colts in this one. They've just been on fire. We talked about earlier in the show. I think it's a team you don't want to play. Falcons. They just lost to the Panthers in horrific fashion. I'm riding the hot hand. Give me the Colts. They're going to find a way to win another game. I expect it to be Colts style football. I don't think this will be a high scoring game. I think if one team gets to the 20s, that's going to be enough to win it.
This was such a coin flip game for me. Like at home, and the Falcons are probably the worst team, but they're at home and they're always better at home. Must win situation for them. I took the Falcons just based off me being me. But I don't feel comfortable about it. It wouldn't surprise me if the Colts win. I just feel like maybe the Colts are due for a loss. Maybe they're due for kind of a slip up, and the Falcons are kind of rebounding from last week. So I took the Falcons, but I don't feel 100% comfortable about it.
Seahawks at Titans is our next game. Seahawks 3-point favorites on the road. By the way, I don't know if we talked about the beginning, but that was a season-saving victory for the Seahawks. They lost that game. They were completely out of the playoff race. Now they win that game. They're back to 500. They're very much so right back in that wild card mix. And it's for that reason right there that I think the Seahawks will win this game, whether it's Drew Lock or Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith will be ready to play. He was almost ready to play Monday night and couldn't get in. But I think by Sunday he'll be ready to go. Seahawks, I mean, they saved their victory last week. That locker room's got to be just feeling so good. And I think that will show on the field against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I mean the Titans looked almost, they almost had another win. I think they had a nice overtime loss, but the Seahawks had a huge win, and I think it means more to them. Like you said, it kind of saved their season and gave them another reason to keep playing. And I think they're going to ride that hand and just kind of take care of business. This might not be pretty by any means, but give me the Seahawks.
Lions at Vikings, a divisional matchup. That is a really big game for the Vikings. They're trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. Detroit 3.5-point favorite at home. Based on what we saw last week from the Lions, it'd be crazy not to pick them. I got the Lions. I think the Vikings will put up a good fight, but I think the Lions are going to be able to pull away. I think they're going to be able to win this one by 2 scores as well.
Yeah, to me, the 3.5-point spread is a little crazy. I don't know why it's that close. Maybe like aren't the Vikings still going with that third string quarterback? I think it's still Nick Mullins, right? So like,
I believe so.
yeah, it just doesn't seem right, especially with how good the Lions looked last week. I got the Lions easily covering that spread. I think this could get out of hand.
Commanders at Jets next up. This is really one of the weaker matchups of the week. Jets 3-point favorite at home. Give me the Commanders, I guess. I don't know. I think the Commanders are bound to win a game, I guess. They haven't won in a long time. I guess they're due for a good showing, maybe. I don't know. I could care less about this game, for just being honest.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I felt kind of the same thing about the Jets. I just think they're due. Maybe they're just going to have a
Sure.
vintage Jets win. I don't know. Like, I don't hate either pick.
Sure. Why not? You're rocking Jets. I'm rocking Commanders. We'll move on. Packers, Panthers, same thing. I mean, Packers for a minute, they seemed like they were back on the come up, then they fell off, and it seems at this point might be too much of a hill to climb to get back into the mix. I don't think they're eliminated yet, just given how bad the NFC is this year, but I'm not excited for this matchup either. There's no way the Panthers are going to win 2 games in a row. I'll take the Packers.
I mean, that would be something if they did, but I just don't see it happening. Give me the Packers. I don't know if to see you're going to get like a pretty win, but it'll be a win.
Browns at Texans. This actually is a kind of a fun matchup here. Cleveland, 2-point favorites on the road. I'm going to rock with the Browns. The story with Joe Flacco has been incredible. We'll see Stroud be back. Case Keenum, as you said, he led the Texans to a nice OT victory. I'm not sure if Stroud will be back or not. Regardless, either way, I'm rocking with the Browns. I love that defense. That defense is going to carry them to the playoffs. I really truly believe that.
Yeah, I took the Texans. To me, it's like, how much are we really going to keep getting these cardiac plays out of the Browns? They almost got a Hail Mary on them last week. They didn't really play that well. Joe Flacco had a really bad game. The Texans, I don't think CJ Stroud will play, but the Texans just keep finding ways to win. I don't feel comfortable about this. This was a coin flip for me. I took the Texans. I just like the story better.
Yep, I don't hate that pick at all. Jags at Bucks. This actually turned to a pretty interesting game. Bucks a 1-point favorite at home. I'm gonna go against Vegas. I'm gonna take the Jags. I think they're the better team. I mean, I know the Bucks. They have a lot to play for. They're trying to get a division title, try to host a playoff game. But given how the Jags look against Baltimore, I think this could be a good bounce back performance after what was a really bad loss on prime time.
Yeah, I took the underdog as well. For me, it came down to I just think the Jags are more prepared for these late season stretches. This Bucks team's just kind of hanging on by a thread on these wins. I just don't feel like they're a real competitor. The Jags need a get right game, and I think they're going to get one here. Not by a lot, but it'll be a nice get right win.
Cardinals at Bears. I mean, I don't really care. This game has no playoff implications at all. Give me the Bears, 4.5-point favorites. They're the better team. They should win this.
Yeah, the only thing to really talk about here is that I saw something on social media that technically speaking, the Bears could really make a late season push here. I know it's kind of still, far fetched, but with
I
considering
mean,
how
they're 2
bad
games. They're 2 games back. I mean,
yeah,
I have the point up right now to make the NFC. The current wild card picture. You have the Eagles at 10-4, tied with the Cowboys. So one of those teams will be the first wildcard team. Then it's the Vikings, Rams, Seahawks, Saints, all at 7-7. Bears are at 5-9. So if they win out, get a little bit of help, it's still possible. I mean, 7 wins you're looking for is what you need to be in the playoffs right now. So you're probably looking around 9 wins, probably get you in the playoffs.
Right, and then the interesting thing too is is they have to play they have to play the Packers along the way and the Falcons, I believe, which are both teams that are above them. So that would give them a bit of a jump there. And the Giants play the Eagles twice. The
It's
Saints
possible.
have to deal with the Falcons as well and the Bucks. There's definitely a path for them. I mean, it would be a long shot, and what a story that would be. But yeah, you never know. You just never truly know. But give me the Bears just based off that they have something to play for, not much, and the Cardinals are just tanking at this point.
Cowboys at Dolphins. Finally, I mean, one of the 2 games of the week. There's another big game of the week a bit later on. Cowboys at Dolphins with Miami, a 1.5 point favorite at home. And I'm rocking with those Dolphins. I need the Cowboys to keep losing. Give me Miami by 50. They're going to do it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going that crazy. But I do think Miami will get the job done, especially at home. If this game was at Dallas, I may have thought about picking the Cowboys. But just how the Cowboys are on the road compared to home and how the Dolphins are at home compared against the road. And I think the Dolphins are actually just straight up a better team than the Cowboys, maybe just by a slim margin.
Oh man,
But
I don't know if I agree with that.
You think the Cowboys are a better team than the Dolphins?
Not straight up. I mean, this one made me nervous. I did take the Dolphins. I mean, part of that could be home field. I'm just waiting for that like coming out moment for the Dolphins where I know how good this team can be and they just refuse to show it on these big stages. But I'm hoping this is it. But I don't feel comfortable about it. I really don't.
This should be an interesting one. I mean, the Cowboys, they laid a dud last week, so you gotta imagine they're gonna want to bounce back in a big way. I think Miami's gonna win this one though. I think they will. I mean, it's a 1.5 point spread, so saying they're gonna cover is not really that big. But I think Miami will win by a touchdown. That's my prediction. They'll win by 7 or better.
I hope you are right. I just want them to prove that they're a real contender because I know they can be. I just think that they don't show up in these big moments, so people don't have the same respect for them as a team like the Chiefs or the Ravens.
Pats at Broncos is our next game. Denver, a 7 point favorite at home. Patriots kind of just tanking at this point. I got the Broncos, who are still in the mix of a tight playoff race. They get a good bounce back win at home in front of their home crowd.
Yeah, the next couple games were kind of quick ones for me. I think these are 3 obvious picks. There's just nothing for the Pats to play for. The Broncos still have a lot to play for. Give me the Broncos.
Raiders at Chiefs. Chiefs, they finally had a good showing. We've been waiting for a few weeks now. They had a good win against the Patriots. They're going to try to follow that up against the Raiders, which the Raiders kind of given some issues the first time these 2 teams played. This one at Arrowhead, Chiefs favored by 10. I think the Chiefs will win this one. I think they'll do it convincingly.
Yeah, give me the Chiefs by a large margin. This just makes all the sense in the world. I know the Raiders are on that hot hand, but the Chiefs need to win this game to still keep that. I think they're only a game up on the division now, which is crazy to say, but I mean, it is what it is. They got to win this game to keep that home field advantage.
100%. Giants at Eagles. And it kills me to say that. Now I'm a wee bit nervous now for this game. I mean, we're on a 3-game losing streak now. I mean, nothing seems to be going your ways. So please, I have it in my notes here. So help me God, the Eagles will win this game. That's all. I don't even want to say anything else. The Eagles just win the game. I don't even care how you win it. Just win the game. Win the game. Win the game.
Yeah, that was me last week. That was literally what I was reiterating last week. I'll go over the matchup since you won't. For me, the big thing here comes down to just the Eagles need to get back to their brand of football. You can't, especially against another backup quarterback, you can't give them a glimpse of hope because it always seems like these backup quarterbacks will just find a way if you give them a chance to prove themselves. They will. I mean, we all know the Tommy DeVito story right now. I just think
Tommy
the Eagles will
Cutlets.
get. Yeah, the Tommy Cutlets. I think the Eagles will get back to their brand of football. They'll run the football, and they'll make Jalen Hurts' life a little bit easier, who will be more than 50% next week. We talked about it with your sickness. When you give someone a week to recover and heal, they'll be a much different person. I think that'll show on Sunday. Give me the Eagles.
I hope you're right. I hope it's a statement victory and they wake up from this terrible nightmare. Then the last game of the week, which in my opinion, I think is the best game of the week.
Easily the 2 best teams in football right now.
Ravens at the Niners. San Francisco, a 5.5-point favorite. I mean, that just shows you how dominant a year they've had against what most would say the second best team in football. They're still 5.5-point favorites. I think it's going to be a very close game. I can see it going either way, but I'm going to take the Niners. I think I'm just going to probably take the home team in this game, in this one, either way. But the Niners, they are a slightly better team than the Ravens. Also, given that they are at home, I mean, the Niners, they are hitting their stride big time. I think they're going to win this one. I think this will be a big statement as they lock up the right to be the Super Bowl favorites heading into the postseason.
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to be a blowout, but I feel really comfortable about the Niners. I just think they're such a better team than everyone else right now, and I'm not saying that'll hold true and they just have a cupcake to the Super Bowl, but I mean, they are easily the best team in football right now, and I think it shows every week. I think the Ravens are the best AFC team by a pretty decent margin right now, but I mean, there's levels to this, and I just think the Niners are such a powerhouse team right now. They're getting back to their identity, and that 3-game skid almost seems like a blast from the past now with how different this team has played the last couple of weeks. I mean, they are dominating teams.
I love it. So that's all of our predictions here for this week. Ben, Christmas just really crept up on us this year. It doesn't really feel like we're under a week away from the big day. But you got any good holiday plans this week? I imagine football is going to be involved.
Oh yeah, lots of football involved. I'll be watching pretty much every game, especially my Dolphins game. I have a little bit of a funny way I'm gonna have to watch the game this week, which I'll talk about next week. I don't want to spoil anything, but we'll talk about my fun Dolphins experience next week. Other than that, just standard, getting to see the family, always fun, and who doesn't love opening presents on Christmas Day? So just a lot of fun stuff, man.
Well, Ben, I've sold the predictions tab up for a reason. We got one more prediction to make. I personally
Okay.
I have a 19-year streak as I enter into year 20 of making the nice list. So I my final prediction for this show is that I'm gonna keep I'm a historic Hall of Fame type guy when it comes to me and Santa. I have a good track record. We have a good relationship. I think I'm gonna make it 20 straight. I don't know about you, Ben. I don't know. You might be seeing some coal under your tree this year.
I hope not. I mean, that'd be quite a bad, especially if the Dolphins lose on Christmas Eve, and then the next day I wake up with Cole under the tree. I mean, I think I'm on a similar streak with being on the nice list. I will say that I don't think it's 20 years. My math is not mathing up there. I don't think I have the many years as you do, or even if you have as many years as you do, I think you are. This will be my 19th. So I don't know. We'll see what Santa has in store for me, but I hope some good things.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I don't really have a whole lot going on. Just all my family's local, so that's always a blessing. I get to see everybody very frequently. I know some of my other friends, they have family all over the place, so it's always a blessing to be able to spend time with your family, have a good Christmas ham. It's such an underrated dish. I love myself a good Christmas ham. And please, Eagles, do not ruin my holiday. Christmas is probably my favorite day of the year. Do not sour it to me by losing to a division rival. And don't sour it. Oh, man. Can you imagine the scene? And the link, I only want to put the words, I only want to speak into existence. But Eagles fans on Christmas Day, if things don't go well, that's going to get very ugly at the link. If anyone is dressed up as Santa Claus at the link, watch out, because Philly fans have booed Santa before. We'll boo you again. We throw snowballs. We throw snowballs at Santa. We'll probably do it again. So just Eagles, get the job done. Get the job done. But no, I'm excited for Christmas. It's going to be a great time to spend time with my family. But I don't know about you, but love doing this remotely. But on our own, hour and a half, way more to talk about. It feels good, and there's only great things ahead. We're going to be adding more stuff to the stream. Right now, we just kind of have the still image going, but we're going to have more stuff. It's going to be fun. We're going to be able to do some more specials, maybe a few 15, 20-minute side episodes. The possibilities are endless. I think we have a great future ahead. And I'm looking forward to the Christmas season.
Yeah, like you said, the option for us to go almost, and this would be a show and a half on our old setup. So it's good to see us being able to do our own thing. And I think, at least through one episode, it felt good to do this remotely, and we'll find new ways. As you said, the big thing is like you said, there's, we're still opening the door to more things than just this Wednesday show. You will still get the same Wednesday show that you're used to, a little bit different, obviously, with longer and more to it, but we are also opening the option to more stuff. So that is more all the reason to keep up with our stuff and like and subscribe and all that stuff, so you can stay up to date with all that. But yeah, I'm excited for this to get going. I think one episode down feels good, so we got many more to go.
Many more to go, indeed. That's gonna do it for the bottom line. As Ben said, like, share, subscribe. Let's build the movement. Let's get the bottom line to more viewers, more eyes. Until that time, maybe we'll see you Wednesday. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a special before that. But either way, we'll definitely be back this time next Wednesday. If you don't hear from us again, we hope you all have a lovely Christmas or happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. But with all that, he's been Willey. I'm Dorazio. This is the bottom line. Sign out. We will see you all soon. Happy holidays, everybody.